So I wanted to test some things out the other day. So I built this scene based on a design by Dieter Rams of the Braun reel-to-reel tape. And there's a really pretty photograph of it in a book that I have. It's a regular book, so I don't actually have a photograph of it. I looked online, but I didn't see the same photograph, but it's got some really pretty lighting. And I thought that it would be good to kind of experiment with this so that I could experiment with some Solaris stuff. So I have built this file completely to try to be USD compliant, USD friendly. We will change we'll see that CD gets changed into color display or display color. I always get the two confused, but that I'm using a name attribute. We're not using groups. It's very clean. There's UVs for everything, and it's pretty much ready to go into Solaris. I'll do a deconstruction of this scene later that kind of shows how I built everything, but everything is very, very procedural. I could go in and change the resolution of things, move things around, change the number of cuts and things like this quite easily if we needed to. But primarily the modeling work has been done. So let's call this set here, and I've got a environment light in here that's just in regular Houdini, but we want to be in Solaris. So I'm actually going to go into my Solaris desktop, which is just basically exactly like the standard Solaris desktop. There we go. And let me just close that out because we don't need anything. And we get our standard Solaris desktop. And so the first thing that I'm going to need to do is lay down a SOP import, right? So because we want to import our whole scene. And I have our whole scene encased into one container in SOPS in the object context. So we're just going to link to that. And if we go in their set, we can come and I need to find set out. There we go. Hit export relative reference. And if I hit spacebar G, there we go. We can see our set, right? Everything has come in. And if I look here, it says SOP import 1. And again, that's because we've got this $OS string. This is defining the name. But if I click open that SOP import, you can see we have all of our friendly names. Look at, there's one thing called Mesh 01. We're going to have to go back and find that. Oh, look, I can see what it is right there. It's the reel-to-reel tape. I want to fix that right away. So let's go take a look at that. That's going to be over here. Tape reels out, right? I've got some name that it is not defined, and that is tape backface name tape backface here. Let's see what's going on here. That's this. I think that what I'm going to do is just delete that out real quick. I'm going to add an attribute create. I want to make sure that this scene is completely clean before I go in. And so this is going to be the tape faces. And this one I'll call tape sides, just like it. I have a group there because I was doing it here, but I'll just delete that group and not worry about it right now. So let's call that tape sides like that. And let's go back and make sure that we have no, it's gone. Okay, we have nothing. Everything has a name to it. We have no geometry that's kind of out of whack and not being able to know exactly what it is nicely, which is good, right? So, and this is because we're using that name attribute, right? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to come to my SOP import, and I'm going to call this Dieter Rams set, because Dieter Rams was the designer who built this that I kind of base this off of. And let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I do want to create just a material. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to create a material and dive in there, and I'm going to create a MaterialX USD material subnet like that. And I'm just going to call this general for right now, or general shader like that, general shader. And that way I can kind of just assign it to everything. I can get some lighting going on pretty quickly, and then we can kind of come in to break down our shaders. Now, I usually start with this MaterialX USD material subnet like that, because we get all of the things that we would want kind of built for us, except for the fact that we have to define the shader that we want. So I'm going to just pick that standard surface like that and connect them in, and I'll move the displacement down like, oops, like that. And now we just kind of have the Uber surface that we're used to. We have this thing called inputs, right? And you can see that our materials in our set are separate, right? And that's because if we come up here and we look at this material context, that's the material path prefix, right? So we could actually copy that if we wanted. Copy parameter, right? And paste that relative reference there. And now everything is going to exist, right? There's our, actually, I didn't like the way that that worked, right? So I've never done it when I've done that. So let me delete that out. That didn't work the way that I wanted it to, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, oh, you know what I should have done is let me just delete that out. First, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that and come back here. Sorry about that. And paste that in like that, and then call this materials like that, right? Whoops, like that. And now there it is. There it is. And actually, I'm going to come back. I want to organize this, right? And we can do that. I'm not liking the way that this is. So in here, this SOP import, I'm going to go DROM set geo like that. And now we have DROM set, and now we have DROMs geo and materials. I like the way that that's working for me like that. That's kind of nice. Okay, so in our material library, let's just do autofill materials, right? Let's do an assign materials like that. Assign materials, boom, right? I'm gonna assign it to everything. So we can do that by just coming in here for right now and selecting everything like that. And for the material path, it would just be this general shader like that. And everything goes white and kind of nice. It looks good. I'm going to just kind of save where we're at. I'm going to actually version this up too, because what we can do is I'm going to call this one Solaris lesson 01, P01 is the DROMs Solaris. I'll make this project file available on my website. So now, okay, so we have our general shader. Now what I want to do is I do want to kind of just come here. I want to make a product shot ultimately. So I'm going to kind of mimic this lighting that I saw that I thought looked really pretty. So I'm going to kind of come over here. I'm going to add an area light like that and unlock it so that I can kind of pop out of it, right? And then I'm going to come in and make a camera. Okay, so I'm just going to lay down a camera. When I did it from the thing, I ended up getting this crazy focal length. I just didn't want to deal with it. So I am going to come up here. We have our horizontal aperture, our focal length of 50. I am going to come up here and look through the camera and then just kind of hit spacebar H. And now I can kind of center the view the way that I want. I know that I want this to kind of be a product shot. And so I'm going to try to start off with a relatively long lens. I've always liked an 80 millimeter. And I want to clean up some of my rotations because I don't really want any rotations like that. So I'm just going to come up and put this thing in the middle here like that. And then now we can kind of come in, right? So I'm just going to, the shot that I've been looking at, the photograph kind of like it looked like that's about right. Okay, so I think that we're ready to start looking at some lighting. So I'm going to make a karma. And I'm going to just click my karma settings. And then up here, I'm going to make sure that we're rendering with karma, not Houdini GL. And there you go. You can see our scene coming in. We're rendering with karma now. And we've got our area light. I want it to be much softer than that, right? So I'm going to come in and just adjust the width automatically, right? So I'm going to make that more like a 4x4. And now it's just way too bright. Now, this color is white, right? So we're not using any of the vertex colors yet, but the exposure is just too much. So I'm going to come down to like a 4. I think that that's actually looking pretty good. I also want to add in an environment light, right? So I'm going to come here. I'm going to find an environment light. I want to give everything a little bit of a blue cast to things. So if we come here, I'm just going to actually enable color temperature, and I'm going to go down to like, let's do like a, let's see what happens when we do 85. I feel like that this dome light is a little bit hot too. So I just wanted a faint little bit of light. No, let's leave it at 1 for now. Let's come back to this area light. And I'm going to take that down to 3. Yeah, I'm starting to like that a lot better. Maybe even the area light can go down. Let's see what happens when I do 1. I want to get a little bit more directionality, and I have a feeling this dome light's just killing me a little bit. So let's take that down to a 0.2. Yeah, okay, now, and then with the area light, what's happening is that I like the fall off that's in the photograph, so it's getting darker on this side, and that was just taking it down too much. So I'm just going to kind of, okay, so I'm just going to look through the area light here. I'm going to kind of come in here. I'm going to rake it a little tiny bit. And now let's come back to the camera view. I'm just kind of trying to get it set up as much as I possibly can. What it does is messing my camera. Let me unlock that and then come back. It's not even letting me look through my camera anymore. There we go. Now I can grab it. No, not. Here we go. Select it to make it blue, of course. There we go. Let's look through our camera. Okay, so that's getting a lot closer to kind of the look that I want, right? I'm going to come in here into the karma settings now, and I'm going to save. And I'm going to, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get a metal going. And the other thing that I want to do is I want us to look over here. Let me put it back on Houdini GL for a sec. Okay, so let's open up our geometry. And here on our geometry, I have the faces here. So we've got the front plate middle, front plate right. So this is the 2 parts that are going to be metal, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and we're going to make a metal shade, start making our metal shader. Is I'm going to come in here and let's just make sure, let's get our color working first. So here I'm going to grab a prim var reader, which is USD primvar reader. And let's put it back on Houdini GL for a sec. Karma. And I always get this one confused if it's color display or display color. It's like that. And let's put that in there like that, pipe that in, and then we can just put that into base. Whoops. Oh, diffuse roughness. Okay, obviously I've got the wrong one here, so let's come back here and it's display color. Type vector. And there we go. So we set it to display color, spelled like that. I always get thrown back because CD is traditional for color here. Now we can see our colors are working automatically. And let me look through, we were looking through the camera. Let me deselect that object and pull this down. Okay, so what we were able to do is we've got this USD primvar reader, and that's going to be reading in our attributes from our geometry, in this case the color, and you can see that now that we're getting our color shading based upon the colors that we gave it in Houdini. Now we're just basically going to this kind of generic shader here, and what we're going to want to do now is that we're going to want to start making some shaders. So let's do that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, right? And I'm going to call this metal brushed 001. And we need to, want to use it, what we need to do is we need to come back up here and go autofill materials, right? And then here we can assign another material, so make 2. And I'll have to delete out the ones here, right? It'll be faster just to grab everything but the metal right now. And so I'm just going to grab everything except for that and that for right now, and drop that into there so we can see right away that our metal isn't getting shaded, right? And then here I'm going to grab in our metal brushed like this here, and that one can come on to here like that. So I'm just going to grab those like that and drag those into there. So we haven't changed anything about the shader, so let's go do that now. So just diving in there, oops, not there, but diving in here. Here's the metal brush shader. I'm going to come in, and in here now we can start making some adjustments. Let me just do this and deselect like that by clicking in there. Here is our standard surface, right? So we have our diffuse roughness and we have our metalness. So this is metal. So let's just put that up to 1. And it's brushed metal, so it's going to be fairly rough, right? So right now the specular roughness is set at 2, and that's why we don't have like a lot of angled reflections going on there. So I'm going to put on for 45 for right now so that we kind of spread out our reflections a little tiny bit. We're going to need to get in some normal maps in there for some metal, and we're going to want to be able to kind of get some bump going so that we can see what's going on, right? And the next most immediate one that I'm going to want to deal with are the clear part here, the steel, and then the cloth here. So let's tackle the clear part first, right? So let's come up here. Let's make another shader, right? And I'm going to call this plastic clear, like that. And if we come up here to our material library, we'll do the same thing. We'll add another material. And this time we're going to want this Reals clear plastic is what we have. So I've got that separated out in a name. There it is. We can see that there. There is the, whoops, oh, I'm on the, we need to autofill materials. And here in assign materials, let's make another one. And we can drag in our clear plastic like that there. And let's drag in our plastic material there. and we can see that it's already started to work, right? So let's, I don't mean to go fully big like that. What I meant to do is collapse this down like that. And let's come in and start edit this material a little tiny bit, right? So plastic clear. If we select our material, right, and we look here, we have transmission. And transmission here, let's set it to 0.9. And what we want to do here is let's set our specular, actually 0.45 is about right. And subsurface sheen coat, thin film. It's not, this one's not thin film because it's plastic, but it probably does have a low index of refraction, like to 1 or something like that. And I'm going to zoom in there and see what's going on. There we go, opacity. I'm going to set this down to like a point. So, part of this is the reason that I'm doing this is that I am just getting up to speed with MaterialX, and I thought that this would be a great way to experiment and get kind of the pipeline working. I've gotten pretty good at building out material shader graphs. There we can go. We can see our transmission now. And what I want to do, I think, is we need to come back here to this transmission. Do we have transmission roughness like that? Let's set that to like a 0.4 and see what we get, because what we want to get is that blurry translucency. I hate the color of those. We'll have to go fix that. Yeah, so now that's working the way that we want here, right? So we have transmission, and then we have on geometry, we actually have opacity, right? And so also, I think I want to set that specular roughness. No, that's not too bad. Diffuse roughness. So like really, there is nothing diffuse about that, right? It's going to be purely, oh, and this is not metal. So let's take the metalness off. And maybe there should be a little bit of, I'm just looking, so here's the diffuse. I'm going to put that back a little tiny bit, something, and put that at 0.2 and come here to transmission. Let's see, specular. I'm going to go to a 2.5 for now. I'm going to come back to my camera view too, and just to see what it looks like from kind of far away for right now. Yeah, barely showing up, right? Transmission, let's do 0.5. There we go. We're getting them coming back in there a little tiny bit. I definitely want to fix the color of those. Those are pretty awful. Let's make some shiny metals pretty fast. So I'm going to make another metal. And I'm just basically establishing, we need to make a metal, we need to make a plastic too. And let's also make what will end up being the cloth. And then we have 2 for the tape fronts and the tape sides. And eventually we're going to have probably a few different kinds of metals that are going on here. We have that cord too. So let's just make them all now. And what we can do is I'm going to just grab the general shader now so I don't come off of, or well, we can do metal brushed, right? And I'm going to call this one metal shiny 01, like that. And instead of it being very rough, I'm going to come in and say like a 0.05 and an index of refraction of 6. And metal shiny. And I'm going to add, now we need, I'm going to add in a plastic. I'm just going to call it plastic 01 because we're getting our colors mostly from Houdini. So we can use it across the board for our plastics unless we start thinking that we don't like the way that one plastic is working for another, and then we can kind of come back. We also have that glass here, right? So I'm going to make this one glass clear, right? Glass clear. That's for here. This is glass with some labels that we haven't done the graphics for that, but ultimately I kind of want to get this roughed in here in Houdini, and then what I want to do is play around with some lighting, and then I'm going to put it into Substance Designer. So I'm Substance Painter rather, so that I can actually paint some textures, put on the decals and the text and stuff like that. But I want to play around with the rendering first. The one thing that I really is driving me crazy is that the color that I made those things. So I'm going to want to go fix that pretty quick too. But let's make the rest of our shaders here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup here. Okay, let me just save to where we're at just in case. And so we need a paper and we need a, okay, tape and tape sides. Whoops, not all that. Whatever, I'll delete what I don't want. So actually, I don't, there's an accident there. So let's call this tape sides. This one we'll call this tape fronts, and we need a speaker cover. Well, we need speakers too because we have speakers, and we need speaker cloth like that. And then I think we just need a paper, right? Paper. Oh, let's get the white cabinets too. We have these white cabinets too. So let's call that like, yeah, white cabinets. Oh, we need cord and walls. So white, white cabinet. Cord. And I'm just going to grab that and go walls. And I think that that should be what we need. We can always make another shader. So let me just clean this up, hit Shift S so that I get my, I like my kind of noodles looking like that. And you know, we can add in other inputs, right? So we can add in different Primvar readers. So you can see this result that comes in. We have next here. And so we probably are going to want to do that at some point just so that we can show it. And but for right now, that's pretty good. Let's come back here to our material library and let's go autofill materials, right? And what I'm going to do now is, now that we kind of have this going the way that we want to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to X this one out because that has everything in it. And so now I'm going to add in another material, and let's pull back up our scene graph here. Okay, so let's just go, all right, so black, let's just grab everything that's plastic right now. So here's plastic, plastic, anything knobs is plastic, right? Metal tape spool, that's metal. Red plastic, not that one. White plastic and white plastic. Okay, so let's just drag that into there like that. And then let's come back here to our material. Here's plastic 01 like that. And let's go down just quickly while we just did that. And here's our plastic 01. Let's dive in there, right? And make sure it's not metal, right? Its diffuse roughness is 1. It is specular roughness. Let's give it like a 1 for now. So maybe a 2, right? And let me just make sure, yeah, everything else is good. And so now we can come back up and let's grab the next thing that we want to do is, so here's our assigned materials. So let's make another assignment. And in this particular case, let's grab, we have glass clear, metal brush, metal shiny, right? So metal shiny. Here's our geo. Let's grab all of our shiny metal, right? So that's going to be hex heads, like that. Metal insert, metal lever, metal taper, tape spool. That's this. Well, I thought it was the metal that's up there, but I guess it's not. Reels metal. Oh, that's the metal that we have to change the color of. And that looks like it's it. So we can just grab all those. Okay, let's come back down into our metal shiny. I think we already kind of adjusted that. Yeah, see, so index refraction 6. Let's come in here and let's just see what's going on now that we have this a little bit better. Oh, you know what? One thing I want to do, I want to also make sure that we get those walls. Let's get that wall, right? So here are assigned materials. Let's just get through all of them instead of being lazy and just wanting to start looking at the rendering. So here I want to add in, what do we have left to do? We have glass. So glass. Yeah. So here, let's do 5. And let's add in the glass. Actually, let's do the cord. And the cord. And then the next one, let's actually go back into the cord too. And just while we're here, because that's going to be pretty diffuse, right? So we'll make sure that it's not metal. Let's give it a high diffuse roughness value and a pretty high, and probably just like a 1.2 for right now. Okay. And let's see, so assign materials. Let's make another one, 6, right? And now what I'm going to want to do is grab, oh, look, you know, one thing, that this front cylinder here for right now can go into that metal shiny too. So let's see. Let's do, this is going to be here, metal insert, rotating spool. Let's do the glass, right? And here we do glass clear, right? And then let's make another material for now. And graphics, that's the paper, by the way. So that's that. And then here is the paper. Is here, sorry, paper. Let's make another material. It's 8. And scroll down. And now, okay, so we metal tape spool, red plastic, reels, clear plastic, reels, metal, reels, white plastic. I think we've got that speaker cabinet. I want that one. That's white cabinet. Let's add another one. And let's do speaker cloth now. Or yeah, speaker cloth. whoops, speaker cloth, and speaker cloth. And now we have speakers. I like to just do it one by one because this way you kind of just don't get lost, you know. So we just need really two more. So there's speakers, and here's speakers like that. And we need two more. So I'm just going to make those two because they're the last two. So we can just type in a 12. And what we need here are the tape faces. I have these separated out because we're going to get, like, do some anisotropic shading. We'll get a bump map that makes it, give it that circular look. And then we have here tape sides. So, whoops, we can just go up here like that. And here is tape sides, and here is tape fronts. And we did, where do we have the walls? I'm looking here, and why am I not seeing white plastic? The walls. Seems like there's a namespace that's not right for the walls. So let's go back and see what's going on there. So coming back to our SOP import, right, I'm just going to dive down into our set and see what's going on because it looked like something in the walls here. It looks like the namespace is not correct. Yeah, see, I must have just copied it, so let's just call that walls, and that's all we need. Boom. And material assignments, we'll need that one more. There's the walls. You can see it came right in. I love how this works just in general. It's very nice to me how it works. So, okay, so now we need walls. So that's here. And I believe I added another material. Here we are, walls and walls. And here is walls like that. I'm going to come into that walls material too really quick like this and just make sure that it's got a good 4 diffuse roughness and a 0.6 1.2. That seems like a pretty good number to start with, right? And okay, so I feel like that's a pretty good start. I'm going to kind of close this off. And let's deselect so we don't have anything selected. And I'm going to let this res in for a sec, save. I've got to come in and change this coloring for right now and on those green ones. And then I've got to do some material searching too. I feel like that maybe what I also want to do is if we could make this dome light be a little more blue, right? So maybe even like, let's do, if we have to do 12, right? We're getting a lot more blue in our shadow. The image that I have, but we can do that in compositing too, is very blue. So I'm gonna maybe pump this up to like a 3. And now we can lower this down to like let's start at a 1.5. And I think I'm going to add in some warmth. I love this kind of combination of the warm and the cool working together. So it's a little much, still a little much, or maybe not. Let's see. And I think that the other thing that I saw that I wanted to do is just move it a little bit more orangey. Let's see. All right, actually, I think I'm liking the way that this is looking. I'm going to turn off the display of the lights and the cameras. And I mean, obviously the plastic is looking, that clear plastic is looking really crappy. I mean, there's a lot of other things that have to be addressed in this, and but we'll get to that. We've got our material assignments. We've got to make some graphics for that. The one thing I'm noticing is I wonder if that glass still has the, let's just take a look at that glass. because I think I just copied the clear, right? Yeah, so here's glass clear. And let's just make sure, let's see. And yeah, see roughness. I'm just going to say 0. And on specular, this would be 0, like 5 or something like that. That's for the glass. And then on the opacity, it's going to be pretty much pretty see-through there. Yeah, I feel like that's a little bit more correct. All right, I think we're kind of getting close to me going and grabbing some textures. What I think that I want to do is I want to come up here and I just want to test 2 things. So here in my stage, I'm going to come here and I'm going to set some keyframes for that. We'll come in, we'll adjust that later. And then I'm going to come up to frame 10. And because I know I'm going to want to do some like I'm going to want to change this to like, let's do like a 22. Or actually, you know what? I changed my mind. That 80 was looking pretty sweet. But what we want to be is we want to be way tight so we get some really nice depth of field eventually. Do that. Let's kind of see what's going on here real quick. We might adjust that. Yeah, I want it a little bit more like that. I'm going to let it res in for a sec. So the things what I'm going to do after we take a look at the depth of field quickly is that I'm going to fix this color because I hate that color, and I'm just going to go in and change it, and then I'm going to pause the video, and then we will I'm going to go and try to grab some texture maps, right? So let me unlock the camera so that I come out of the camera view, and I'm going to come in just to Houdini GL for a second, and I want my camera visible again, so I hit enter and I turn it on down here, right? And so what we can do is I'm going to hit enter in the viewport, and that's going to give us this kind of camera controller, and then we can hit the Z key, and what this is going to do is it's going to give us our depth of field, right? So this is the center of our depth of field here. This is our plane, right? And here you can see in f-stop it's at 0. So let's do like a 1.1. And whoops. There's the focus plane. I want to get it right on there. It's like we don't have the ability to drag and change the f-stops like we did in Mantra, right, or regular Houdini. Let's look through the camera and see what we're getting here. Camera 1. Okay, camera 1. Depth of field settings and rendering depth of field are always on by default in Karma. So if you come here to camera effects right there, we can see that it's on. So as soon as I start rendering, we should start seeing some depth of field. So let's see, Karma, here is Karma. And there you go. I find that Karma has really, really nice depth of field that looks really, really realistic to me. And that generally gives me what I feel like, as long as we're working at the correct scale, gives me kind of correct what I would imagine in my mind the depth of field to look like. I'm going to change this to a 2.8. This is a little too much. All right, I'm going to let this resin, and then I'm going to go grab some textures, and then we can kind of come back and look at adding in some textures using triplanars, doing some normal mapping, and adding in some stuff to our lighting. But the basic concept of what's going on here is starting to look pretty decent. So I'll be back after it's done rendering and I've grabbed some textures. Okay, so I've gone and adjust the color of that metal, and I've been playing around just a little tiny bit with looking at it with some depth of field, etc. And really what I want to do now is I want to bring in some materials for this cloth, and I have a brushed metal in there as well. So let's go in and do that. Okay, so I am just going to come in here and type in tiled so that I can bring in an MaterialX tiled image like that. I'm going to just pipe it into base color, and I'm going to grab my AO for my fabric so I can see what that actually looks like to kind of like figure out my sizing, right? And then here in my UV tiling now, I can set some numbers. 110 is not, let's do 10 by 10, and let's see what we get. Right, I mean, that's probably too big. Let's do 20 by 20. Yeah, that's actually looking pretty okay to me, right? And so what we're going to want to do is I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to grab the normals. So that's the normals. You can see we have a Z depth one too if we want to do displacement. And I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to grab the alpha like that. Okay, so here we have our alpha. Here we have our normals. I'm going to kind of come in here and just put it to Houdini GL for a sec so we don't have to deal with the rendering. And then I'm going to type in normal. And you can see that we have this MTLX normal map, right? So we actually have to look at what's going on here in our tiled image. And you can see that it says color, but we can also do vector like that. And we can bring in a normal map like that. So let's find, there's our normal like that. And here you can see that we have opacity like that. So let's bring in our, and let's see what we get now. Look, we can see a little bit of the speakers now showing through, which is always how it is in the photos that I see of the DITA-ROMs. That's what we want. So that's actually kind of looking pretty good. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to grab my camera. We probably have to come up like this. Yeah. So we don't have any lighting on this or anything right now. So click on Karma. There we go. Now we can see some of our lighting, and I'm going to come in here. Actually, let's just leave it on this view for a second. I've noticed too that this part here isn't part of the metal shiny. So I'm going to click on our assign material there. And what I want to do is just open up that bottom here. And that is this, not metal insert, that is here. I call that front cylinder, is these two. I'm going to make this own material for this because actually ultimately it's going to get some graphics. So I'm just going to add another material there like that. And for right now, I'll grab both of them like that. And let's put that onto the metal shiny, which is here. There we go. Let's zoom out a little bit. I feel like I want to work a little bit on this clear material. And also let's get the normals into that metal, right? I grabbed some metal with some normals, stuff like that. So let's grab that. So let's come down here to the brushed metal like that. And I'm mostly interested in the normal map in this particular case. So let's just type in tiled. Let's get our tiled image. And let's grab, I'm going to come up here, metal brushed like that. And here we have N right there. And just make sure that we set it to a vector 3. I'm going to set my tiling to like a, whoops, that's probably too high, 10 by 10 for right now. And then we'll need that metal, this normal map too, like that. So it needs both of them. So we just come in here like this, and then we can come in here and come into normals. Let's see if we get anything. Okay, so here we have our alpha. Here we have our normals. I'm going to kind of come in here and just put it to Houdini GL for a sec so we don't have to deal with the rendering. And then I'm going to type in normal. And you can see that we have this MaterialX normal map, right? So we actually have to look at what's going on here in our tiled image. And you can see that it says color, but we can also do vector like that. And we can bring in a normal map like that. So let's find, there's our normal like that. And here you can see that we have opacity right that. So let's bring in our, and let's see what we get now. Look, we can see a little bit of the speakers now showing through, which is always how it is in the photos that I see of the DRAMs. That's what we want. So that's actually kind of looking pretty good. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to grab my camera. We probably have to come up like this. Yeah. So we don't have any lighting on this or anything right now. So click on Karma. There we go. Now we can see some of our lighting. And I'm going to come in here. Actually, let's just leave it on this view for a second. I've noticed too that this part here isn't part of the metal shiny. So I'm going to click on our assign material there. And what I want to do is just open up that bottom here. And that is this, not metal insert, that is here. I call that front cylinder, is these two. I'm going to make its own material for this because actually ultimately it's going to get some graphics. So I'm just going to add another material there like that. And for right now, I'll grab both of them like that. And let's put that onto the metal shiny, which is here. There we go. Let's zoom out a little bit. I feel like I want to work a little bit on this clear material. And also let's get the normals into that metal, right? I grabbed some metal with some normals, stuff like that. So let's grab that. So let's come down here to the brushed metal like that. And I'm mostly interested in the normal map in this particular case. So let's just type in tiled. Let's get our tiled image. And let's grab, I'm going to come up here, metal brushed like that. And here we have N right there. And just make sure that we set it to a vector 3. I'm going to set my tiling to like a, whoops, that's probably too high, 10 by 10 for right now. And then we'll need that metal, this normal map too, like that. So it needs both of them. So we just come in here like this. And then we can come in here and come into normals. Let's see if we get anything. I'm going to just save.